When people are looking for a new game, they want great gameplay, a well-crafted story, beautiful art design, or even just a way to test their skills. But when I'm looking for a new game to play, I'm gonna be honest, sometimes the fishing minigame, it sucks. And when it takes 15 hours to get to the only part that I care about, just to be let down by some mediocre angling, I get a bit annoyed. And if you share in this all too common frustration, look no further, because I'm gonna go fishing in every game that I can find to see which one is the best, and why not start off with one of the greats, Animal Crossing. In every Animal Crossing to date, fishing is one of the major components of the game, and it's actually quite simple. Throughout the island that we live on, various shadows will show up in different bodies of water. We use our fishing rod to throw our bobber onto the shadow, and after a couple of nibbles, the fish will bite. We then spam our action button and reel the fish in. The actual fishing mechanics of Animal Crossing are pretty boring, but that's not where its wonder lies. Depending on the weather, time of day, and even the day of year, various fish will be available, with different ones being in ponds, the ocean, next to the pier, and even at the base of a waterfall. So there's so many different scenarios and locations that different fish can be in, and trust me, there's no greater feeling than running up to a pier and seeing a tiny little fin peeking out over the water and then reeling in the biggest shark you've ever seen. Not to mention, after collecting all of the various rare and abundant fish, you can look at all of your catches in your very own aquarium. And you know what, let's throw all these bad boys into a tier list so we can see which one we like the best. And just to keep things very consistent, I'll be using this strict criteria when ranking all of these minigames. And for that reason, Animal Crossing gets an easy S tier from me. Next up is Cult of the Lamb, and in this game the fishing is, well, it's like a mix of Animal Crossing with the little fish shadows, and then Stardew with the bar moving up and down, which if you don't know about Stardew fishing, we'll get to that later. In the campaign, there's a quest to give the fisherman 4 specific fish, and if you do, you're rewarded with a new fleece to wear that can give you specific bonuses. Other than that, all the fish you catch, they're just used for meals for your cult, and they aren't really that exciting. Catching a salmon from a tuna doesn't really make a difference, so you're just fishing just to fish, and you don't really care what you get, which in my opinion is one of the great parts of fishing. It's like a lottery every time, but when you don't care what the outcome is, then all the amazement is lost. But it's still kind of fun, so I'll put it in C tier. Next up is Far Cry 6, which might as well be the next Mark Davis Pro Bass Challenge, because this is the most beautiful fishing experience that I've ever seen. You get to start fishing in Far Cry 6 about an hour into the game, and the actual mechanics are pretty simple. You cast the line, wait for the fish to take the bait, and you just reel in the fish by pulling in the opposite direction that it's trying to swim towards. The only downside is that the fish don't really have much distinction. There are about 20 fish in the game, and catching all of them once is pretty cool, but they all basically do the same thing. You can trade them in for materials or cook them for meals. They can give different buffs, but there's no real incentive for catching specific kinds, but it's overall pretty fun and very beautiful, so I'll give it an A. Now it's on to Final Fantasy XV, which is pretty in-depth to say the least. Similar to Far Cry, the fishing is pretty intuitive. You cast the line, hook the fish, and then just follow the on-screen prompts until the fish is caught. But sometimes they try to be a bit too realistic. Some of the largest trophy fish in the game can take upwards of 10 minutes to fight and reel in, which for a minigame that has like 3 buttons is a pretty long time. But overall, it provides quite the challenge to catch, and it feels really good when you get it. But for the most part, it just makes you mad after you fail about 5 minutes into it and have to completely restart. But besides that, there are over 100 types of fish, many different rods you can use, tons of lures, locations, tackle shops. It's crazy in depth, and for the most part, it's an entirely optional part of the game, but rewards you with meals for your squad, ability points to rank up, or even cash when you're in a pinch. So aside from the tediously long catches that can basically ruin your day, I think Final Fantasy gets an easy spot in the S tier. Next on the list is Fortnite, and well, I don't really know what to say about Fortnite fishing. When first looking at it, I thought there would just be pools in the game where you can get loot to heal you or increase your shields, which is a correct assumption, but apparently there's an entire world that you can log into. You can fish from about 20 different species, go to 5 different locations, have leaderboards, and even different types of fishing rods. Thanks to the new Fortnite creative, there's basically an entire fishing game packaged up into this one world. But for some reason, after gathering enough money and buying a ticket to the volcano area, the boat wouldn't take me, so I'm gonna have to give it B for now, but it definitely could be an A. Genshin Impact fishing, it's pretty cool. Each fish requires a specific type of bait to catch, and each fish can give you unique rewards, with one of them being a bow and arrow that's just from a swordfish carcass, and that's basically all I needed to know. The fishing is fun, but after getting the swordfish bow, I don't really see myself wanting to go back, but I'll give it an A. Hades, similar to Fortnite, is a game I didn't really know had fishing, and I didn't really expect much from it. In Hades, you have to unlock the Rod of Fishing from the house contractor, and after unlocking, certain rooms will have a chance to have a fishing spot after you clear it. The fish basically just give rewards. It can be currency, new unlocks, just ways to progress your run. And the fish look pretty cool, but the fact that the fishing itself doesn't really mean anything, it could just be like a bonus after clearing a specific room, and it's not really a fun thing to do. You'd only do it because there's no reason not to, so while the fish look pretty fancy, I think it has to be a C tier, just because it's not really that fun. Next is It Takes Two, and in this game there are so many different mini games you can play throughout the playthrough, and all of them are pretty cute, they're pretty fun, but you just do it for a couple of times and then you move on. And same goes for fishing. You go to the boat, you use the grappling hook to catch the fish, but then you get to feed these cute little seals. So it's cute and it's fun, and for about 20 seconds, so I'll give it a solid B. Next up is Kirby in the Forgotten Land, and there's not much to say. It's another cute little mini game, and after a minute or two, you'll probably never come back. But I will say, you can get this massive blipper, which gives you 500 star coins, which I will say, when you do catch it for the first time, is pretty exciting. So in that moment, it's an S, but the replayability just isn't there. So I'll give it a B. Next up is Breath of the Wild, and there isn't a fishing rod in this game, so we have two options. We can either swim in the pond and grab the fish, or we can use a bomb to explode the fish and then jump in the water and grab it. And that's really all you can do. There's only one type of fish. It's D tier for me. Now we're on to Mario Party, and I almost did Mario Odyssey as there is a moon where you can play as Lakitu and fish up the moon, but it's just a one-time thing and there's not much to it. So instead, we're going to be playing Castaways, where we're fishing for cash instead of fish. This minigame is great. When in a normal game of Mario Party, you can almost guarantee taking home at least 20 gold when you play the game. So you're just using your little grabber and you bring back all the chests you can find. B tier for me. Minecraft fishing, it's kind of lame. You mainly get fish and you can sometimes get some cool stuff, but overall, it isn't really that fun to do. You just sit there, wait for the bobber to go down, and then you bring in your cash. But I'll put it into the C tier as there's a tiny bit of novelty for the rare drops that we can potentially get. In Nier, the fishing in this game is not all that great. All we do is throw our little book thing into the water, and whenever we see the bite, we press a single button and it gets reeled in for us. So it's not that interactive, and it's also not really that rewarding. There are a couple of unique catches that we can get, and there is a fishing encyclopedia that we can fill out to try and complete, but it doesn't really feel super rewarding, and overall it's a little tedious, and I didn't really want to do it after catching about 3 fish. So even though there is the encyclopedia and the goal of getting all the fish, I have to put it in C. Next up is Paper Mario Origami King, and well, it's kind of like Kirby fishing. It's cute, it's fun, you can get some rewards, but after a minute or two, I'll probably never come back. And even though there are legendary catches, it doesn't amount to the big fella that we caught in Kirby, so I gotta give it C. Fishing in Pokemon, it's not really about the fishing. It's just a way to encounter a Pokemon with a couple of extra steps, opposed to just walking in some grass. There's nothing special about it, you don't do it for fun, or anything cool, you just do it because you have to. D tier. Red Dead Redemption fishing, it reminds me a bit of Far Cry. It's pretty solid, there's a couple of legendary fish to catch, and filling out your catalog, it's pretty rewarding. It's pretty fun to do, some of the catches are difficult, but there isn't really anything special about it that wants me to come back for more. So while there's nothing bad about it per se, I think I just have to place it in A because it's just a standard fishing experience. RuneScape fishing, gotta be S tier. I'm gonna be honest, Sea of Thieves fishing, it kinda pissed me off. For a game all about sea exploration and, well, the ocean, I thought the fishing would be a bit more involved. And while the fishing itself, it's fine. There's only 5 fish you can catch, and you don't really do anything with them except eat them. After the first catch, I really didn't want to do it again, and mainly just because I had such high expectations for this game, I'm placing it in D out of spite and disappointment. So in The Sims, as one would expect, you don't actually do the fishing yourself. You just tell your sim to fish, so as I was unable to fish and instead just had to watch someone else fish, it's going straight into F tier. Next up is Skyrim fishing, and before researching for this video, I actually had no clue that was something you could do in this game. In Skyrim, there's a couple dozen of different fishing locations, which you can just walk up to. You grab a fishing rod and some bait, and then you cast your line. And once caught, you can then add the fish to your fish hatchery in order to give yourself some more food. And while it got a little boring after a while, since the first fish I caught was called the Pog fish, I'll have to let Skyrim rest in A tier. Of all the games that I revisited to go fishing, Sonic Adventure was the one that I was the most excited to play. I remember playing as Big the Cat, trotting around, catching fish and his pet frog, and I couldn't wait to try it again. Well, I don't know what my childhood self remembers, but these levels are horrible. Apart from the main mission of getting Froggy, trying to catch a fish that is anywhere over 1,000 grams, it's basically a toss-up and can take forever to try and reel in for virtually no reward. This game sucks, I didn't have fun. F tier. But luckily, Stardew Valley is up next, and well, Stardew fishing is Stardew fishing. At its core, it's quite simple, but you've got regular fish with varying rarities, an angling profession that you can rank up, legendary fish 2, nighttime fish, crab pots, and then you can turn them into sashimi or just sell them for fast stacks. You can put them in a pond, breed them. The fishing in Stardew, it's relaxing. The mechanics are simple but enjoyable. Overall, it's my favorite thing to do in the game. It's super in-depth. Has to go up in S tier for me. Terraria fishing on the surface, it's quite basic. You run to the ocean, cast your line, and just get whatever comes up. But beneath the surface, it's actually crazy in depth. There's a ton of fish to catch, unique weapons that you can obtain, special potions to make, and even dozens of super unique fish. But the rewards are really the only thing that make it somewhat fun. The fishing itself is as boring, if not worse, than Minecraft. You just click to toss it in, and then click once to retrieve it. But due to the immense list of things you can catch, I'll say it has to go into A tier. We Play is a game that's full of just random mini games. You've got ping pong, billiards, the overall best game, no questions asked, tanks, and then fishing. The fishing minigame consists of lowering your Wiimote into the water and trying to catch the prize fish that is located at the top of the screen, and if you do get the prize fish, you get double points. After the timer, all the points are tallied, and if you're playing by yourself like I was, I guess you're always the winner. This game isn't that bad, and it's fun with friends, but I don't think I would ever play this by myself, so I think I'll have to put it in C. And that leaves us with Yakuza 6. And in Yakuza 6, there are 13 total chapters in the entire game, and not until completing chapter 10 can we even begin to fish. So not only is this the last game for me to fish in, but it's also a game that takes on average over 15 hours to beat. So at around 10 hours, we can then try to catch a fish. But oh my gosh, is it worth it? I have never played a Yakuza game in my life, and I honestly didn't know what to expect. But after completing chapter 10, we can go to the port, talk to the fishermen, and take on our new role as a spear fishing god. This isn't a normal fishing game, but for each level, we dive into the depths, and with just our spear gun, we take on any fish in our way, with each level ending in a crazy boss fight. There's giant squids, sharks, octopus, you name it. This was such an unexpected delight. After each level, you're graded on how well you did on the hunt, and I immediately wanted to try and improve my score. It may not be as relaxing as Animal Crossing or as in-depth as Final Fantasy 15, but I had a blast. And of all the fish I caught within the past few weeks, this is the game that I wanted to go back to the most. So I'm definitely going to place it in the S tier. And for the best fishing minigame ever made, I think it has to go to Old School RuneScape.